And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of New York State of Sports here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Ricky Keeler with you for episode 20, and a show that looked like there was going to be celebration at the Garden, and it turned into an absolute disaster. The Knicks, who led by 6 with 28 seconds left, a 4-point play, a missed free throw, a three-pointer from half court, an overtime collapse. And now the Knicks find themselves going back to Philly for Game 6 Thursday night. Has the series completely turned the other way? Or can the Knicks find some resolve in what was an absolute collapse when it should have been elation? And the Islanders' season is over with a familiar theme. A bad third period in Carolina as the Hurricanes win in 5, and Carolina gets set for an epic second-round matchup with the New York Rangers. We don't know when that is, but it should be a lot of fun, and we'll start to preview that. It's all coming up right now here on New York State of Sports. See you in a bit. And of course, you can follow me on X at Rickinator555. Follow the show on X at NYStateSportsIE. And I want you to email me as well. rickdkeeler@gmail.com. For your thoughts throughout this postseason. What are your questions throughout the game? I want this to be a viewer-friendly show. You guys take the time to listen. We've done at least probably 2 to 3 episodes a week now with all of these games. Unfortunately, we'll get to it later, there probably won't be as many. Had a prior engagement coming up over the weekend, so you won't get a lot of stuff going on. But we'll do as many as we can. But we have to talk Knicks. And look, there's no way to sugarcoat this. It's a collapse and an epic failure by this Knicks team. And what's sad about it is, in a 112-106 overtime loss, and I don't want to hear about, oh, the Knicks got a miracle in Game 2, Philly got a miracle in Game 5. I don't want to hear about that the miracle's evened out. The difference this time wasn't because of miracles that the Knicks won Game 2. Remember, I said it back when New York won. Philly lost Game 2 when Kyle Lowry only made 1 of 2 at the free throw line. They missed a chance to ice the game, and the Knicks took advantage of it. Knicks missed the advantage to ice the game tonight. But the difference is, the Knicks lost this game by doing the one thing that they normally do well. The little things. What do I mean by the little things? The Knicks have been terrible at the free throw line. They were 16 for 24. Philly was 13 for 19. Now, when you look at the Knicks free throws in general, normally you go to 16 for 24. It's usually Mitchell Robinson's taking a free throw. He did take 2 and missed both during the game. So let's take Mitchell Robinson's out for a second, and we'll get to him in a little bit. 16 for 22. Doesn't get it done in this kind of game. Especially if we go through the fourth quarter in particular. The Knicks had a 5-point lead with a minute to go. Brunson hit the 14-footer to put him up 5. Tyrese Maxey has the foul. That was the take foul. And Anunoby makes 1 out of 2. If he hits both, the Knicks have a 7-point lead with under a minute to go. They probably win the game. Instead, it's 6. Oubre hits a layup. The Knicks come down the court. McBride gets the big basket from the free throw line. Puts them up 6. Game looks over. Philly then comes down the floor. And they take their final timeout. And Tyrese Maxey hits a 3-pointer. And I don't know what in the world Mitchell Robinson's doing in that situation. Clearly goes for the jump. Maxey takes the bait, gets the foul, gets the bucket. And Tyrese Maxey, give him all the credit in the world. Fantastic game. And we'll give you his line in a little bit, but it was incredible. Maxey hits the free throw, they go up 2. Nick Batum then fouls Josh Hart 10 seconds later. Nick's able to get the ball over half court. All Hart's got to do is make both. Only makes 1. I made the second, which is a bit more pressure than the first one, especially after you miss. but he makes only one. Knicks are up 3. And then Philly doesn't have a timeout. They're coming up the floor. And I would argue in this spot, you foul. I reside to that mentality that you foul before they can even take the three-pointer, especially since Philly doesn't have a timeout. They can't advance the ball. So if you foul Maxey behind half court, who had just missed his last 3 free throws after he had made his first 16 in the series. Worst case, you're up 1, you're playing the foul game, and you're going from there. And you clearly see on some of the broadcast angles, Tom Thibodeau is yelling at half court at Deuce McBride to foul. Deuce doesn't, either he didn't hear it or something of that nature. Maxey pulls up from half court, hits the 3. I think Maxey's pulling up anticipating a foul. Somehow hits the shot. Game goes to overtime. Jalen Brunson gets the first 5 points of OT, and then Philly finds a way to win it. Brunson scores the only 9 points in overtime for the Knicks. And that's that. You got to do those little things well. You can't miss free throws. You can't foul up when someone's shooting a 3, especially when you're up 6 points. Let him take the shot. If he makes it, great. You can't do that. Mitchell Robinson even said it after the game that he basically bleeped up. And he's taking it on the chin. And he should. To me, he's the number one cause of blame in this game. The second one is Tom Thibodeau. And it's Tom Thibodeau because he never adjusted in this game on 2 fronts. Number one, if you look at overtime, you do nothing in that either to get Jalen Brunson more open for shots or to get the ball to other players on the floor. The Knicks succeed when everything gets done as a team. They didn't do that here. It was basically one-on-one ball between Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson. You will not win a series doing that. That's the game that Philly wants you to play. Nick Batum was fantastic all night guarding Brunson. Kelly Oubre did his usual thing to frustrate him. And Brunson had a good game overall. 40 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 15 of 32. Very efficient shooting, 4 for 11 from 3. Probably the only Nick who was able to do anything from 3-point range the entire night. But that's the problem. You could talk about how Jalen Brunson doesn't have to take every shot, but he does. The Knicks do not have a consistent number 2 scorer on this team. Dante DiVincenzo has gone absolutely missing since that game winner in Game 2. Tonight goes 3 for, well, as you're listening Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, 3 for 10 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3, 9 points. Picked up 3 fouls early in the game. He's clearly pressing. And what was one of the keys in the series when we previewed it? DiVincenzo, can he find his game? I haven't seen it. Haven't seen it the entire time. Josh Hart, early in the series, was hitting those threes that Nick Nurse was daring him to shoot. 1 for 6. Had a good game overall. 18 points, 9 boards, which is his usual thing. But he can't be the number 2 scorer on this team. OG Anunoby, 17 points. On 7 of 12. I thought Anunoby had a strong game. But look at the minutes played. 50 minutes for Anunoby. 51 for Brunson. Hart plays 53. Maxey played 52 for Philly. And Embiid played 48. And we'll get into Embiid. But it looked like the Knicks had this game also when you got... Philly has a 4-point lead in overtime. Jalen Brunson drives to the basket. Gets fouled by Embiid. Embiid then has his hand hit Brunson in the face, which gets everybody at the Garden crazy. And the Garden had a lively atmosphere the entire night. It was energetic. It was fantastic. Brunson gets the 2 free throws in that situation. Well, actually, no. Brunson actually misses 1 out of 2. They get the ball of the flagrant. Brunson then hits a 3 to tie it. So there's another missed free throw right there. You tie the game, but then you come down the floor and you let Kelly Oubre get an open layup. Unacceptable. This is a Tom Thibodeau coach defense. You can't allow that to happen. You can't allow that to happen. And the reason Tom Thibodeau is also struggling on defense The Knicks essentially lost to one player. And to have a team that is identified as the Knicks winning as a group, when you lose essentially 5-on-1 like the Knicks did tonight or Tuesday night, that's unacceptable. I don't care if it's the whole one guy can beat us and nobody, as long as nobody else is doing their thing, great. No. If he's going to hit everything down the floor, every shot a team that we've taken was going in. 46 points, 9 assists, 5 boards, 17 for 30 shooting, 7 for 12 from 3. You cannot let him touch the ball without 2 guys in his face. And there was too many times where the ball would go to Embiid at the elbow. Miles McBride is in the middle of Embiid and Maxey, and somehow Maxey was getting open looks for 3. That can't happen in this game. I don't care if Nick Batum, who actually had one of his better games shooting the ball at 8 points and a couple threes, or Cam Payne's taking a shot, or Tobias Harris, who hit 2 big free throws late, had 19 points, had his best game of the series. I don't care if those guys hit shots. If they hit them, great. They haven't been reliable the entire series. The one guy who has been reliable the entire series is Tyrese Maxey. Look at his 3 games at Madison Square Garden. Game 1. 33 points, 14 of 26. Game 2, 35 points, 10 assists, 9 boards, 12 for 22. And then on Tuesday night, 17 for 37 for 12 from 3. Maxey from 3-point range at Madison Square Garden is 15 for 32. That is unbelievable. He is playing like a bona fide superstar, and he is a superstar in this league. He won Most Improved Player, but he's above and beyond. And the Knicks cannot let him continue to do the same thing over and over. There has to be adjustments. And the adjustments in game are what didn't get it done. So to me, the 2 culprits to blame are Mitchell Robinson and Tom Thibodeau. I'm not going to sit here and blame Jalen Brunson because the guy tried to do everything in this game. The Knicks offense looked flat at times in this one. It was a great defensive game. But they have to find situations on offense to do well. And we'll talk about more of that coming up. We're going to hear for a word for our sponsors. We'll come right back. And we will talk why a fast start just seems to evade this Knicks team. As we dive more into this Game 5 loss in overtime here on New York State of Sports on IE Sports Radio Direct Feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back here to New York State Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. One of our other sponsors here on the network is Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. It's all brisket jerky, has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Plant Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Plant Jerky. So the Knicks lose Game 5. Game 6 does not have a time as we record this. If the Bucks do hang on to win, and as we record this, Milwaukee leads Indiana 94-76 with 8:42 left in the fourth. Game 6 would be 9 o'clock on Thursday on TNT. I guess the Pacers and Bucks would be the first game of that scenario in Indiana. So at the very least, even if the Knicks, maybe the Knicks missed out on a golden opportunity here to get extra rest. Because you got a Buck team that's giving themselves to give them credit without Damian Lillard or Giannis Antetokounmpo find a way to win Game 5 at home and get that series back to Indiana. I mean, that's a big deal. And the longer Milwaukee goes, maybe they find a way to get Giannis or Lillard back. We'll see. But going back to the Knicks, before we went to our first commercial, one of the things I talked about was finding a way to get off to fast starts. The Knicks have been terrible at that in this series. They have trailed after the first quarter in 4 of the 5 games. Game 5 was the first time they had lost after trailing in the first quarter. And the Garden, if the Knicks had gotten off to a fast start, you could take the will from Philadelphia. Literally take the will out of them. Sixers come out and get an 8-2 lead. The Knicks don't hit their first field goal until the 6.5-minute mark in the first quarter. Just bad shot selection. Defense was great, as I said, on both sides. But just no rhythm at all. Then you go to the end of the first half. Knicks had probably their best quarter, I would say maybe their best quarter of the series. They outscore Philly 32-17. The Knicks have an 8-point lead. Josh Hart makes a basket with 8 seconds left. And then Tyrese Maxey drives to the bucket, gets a layup right before the half. All right, and you live with that. You've got a 6-point lead in a game that you were down 9 going into the second quarter. You change the momentum in the game. Everything's going great. But then, second half, you start up 6. Kelly Oubre hits 2 free throws. Tobias Harris a layup. Brunson does make a basket, but then a Maxey layup, a Maxey jumper, and another Maxey layup. And 4 minutes of the third quarter, you're losing a game that you led by 8 almost going into halftime before the Maxey buzzer beat. In a game where if you had come out in the third quarter with a 6-point lead and you had put up a minimum run, you could have broke the will of that team. With the way the Garden was in Game 5. The electric atmosphere, the celebrities, the guys. The Knicks hadn't clinched a series at home since 1999. And most of the 99 team was in the building. It's one of the more favorite teams in Knicks history outside of the championship team in 73 and then obviously the team that got to the finals in 94. Like, those are the kind of things that you want to see from this group. And to start off slow, you cannot have that happen over and over and over again. I don't know if they come out tight in this kind of game, knowing the pressure that's on them, and not the pressure to stay in a series, but the pressure to get it done at home. Did that get to them? Philly was not great offensively to start the game either. But they've got to come out quicker. Diving into more some of these stats, Philly had 17 turnovers, Knicks had 15. Knicks won the points in the paint by 2. Rebounding, though, Philly won that edge, and they're dominating them on the boards. 46-40. Philly had 12 offensive rebounds. Knicks had 6. And when were the Knicks winning these games? When they were great on the offensive glass. Not the case. And the problem that Tom Thibodeau has right now is they are only playing with essentially 7 guys. Bojan Bogdanovic, earlier before Game 5, ruled out for the rest of the playoffs, undergoing surgery on his foot and his wrist. His wrist was already bothering him going into the series. Hurts his foot in Game 4. His postseason is over. It was revealed during the pregame. I think Steve Popper had it on X. Alec Burks, who could be an option for the Knicks, has got a bad shoulder. Now, he said he would fight through it if the Knicks put him in. They haven't put him in. Precious Achiuwa, who did a great job in Games 3 and 4 when Mitchell Robinson got hurt, when Isaiah Hartenstein would get in foul trouble. Why isn't Precious Achiuwa on the floor? When he did such a good job defensively against Joel Embiid, why isn't he playing? The Knicks are essentially playing with 7 guys, and Mitchell Robinson is playing with a bad ankle. You essentially are playing with 6, 6 guys, it's 7 at best. Deuce McBride is really the only guy they can turn to right now for scoring off the bench. And Deuce had one of his best games of the series, 14 points, 6 of 11 shooting. He looked like he hit the shot that sealed the series, but it didn't happen. But he was 2 for 7 from 3. A lot of bad shots from 3-point range, shot selection. And what this series tells you is the Knicks need a second star. Philly has 2 stars, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. The Knicks need something with Jalen Brunson. I don't know what it is. I don't know who that player specifically is. But regardless of how the rest of this playoffs go, the Knicks have to find a way this summer to land another star. Because you need those nights when Jalen Brunson can't seem to has to try to do everything, that he needs a second option. Even if it's just getting Jalen Brunson off the floor for 2 or 3 minutes just to rest, to have another guy that can take over the game. They don't have that right now. They don't have really, when you look at this team, outside McBride, there's not another shooter they can turn to off the bench if Burks isn't going to play. So where's the second unit offense coming from in a series where the Knicks, by the way, thanks to McBride, outscored the bench 16-14. Campaign is coming off the bench for Philly, hitting some clutch threes. Something the Sixers didn't have in those first 2 games. But in order to, even if it's just to bring Achua in or bring some of these guys in, just to give a guy a 2-minute breather. Because that's the kind of things that wear people down. But who is that star? Is it Devin Booker? Dare I say I was watching something that Chris Broussard said in FS1. Is it maybe Kevin Durant? Is it maybe Donovan Mitchell? Is it somebody from the Timberwolves? Or it's Karl Anthony Towns? To me, the Knicks have to just find a way to get Jalen Robinson his second star. And no, I'm sorry, it's not Julius Randle. They have to find another player. It's time. This kind of game emphasizes you cannot rely on Jalen Brunson to play one-on-one basketball with Maxey and win more often than you lose. You can't. I will give the Knicks credit for this. They did a good job on Joel Embiid in this game. Joel Embiid had 19 points, 16 boards, 10 assists. He had a triple-double, but he had 9 turnovers. There are times it looked like he couldn't jump. Clearly, the leg is bothering him more and more in this series. Now, you give Embiid credit for this. He realized that and was a much better passer in this game than he'd been in the entire series. But you clearly saw whether it was a block by Robinson early where he blocked it and then grabbed the ball out of the air. You saw when he was close up in front of the basket, there were times he was leaving it short. Wasn't getting the same on his 3-point shot. 1 for 4 from 3, 7 for 19 from the floor. Was not great shooting, particularly in the first half. And you wonder the Knicks missed a chance to close it out and missed the one bad game Embiid had. Here's something that works in their favor. How long can Joel Embiid actually stay on the floor? Remember, it was reported earlier in the day he missed shoot around due to a migraine. Kelly Oubre had an illness and missed shoot around. But as Alan Hahn and Wally Zuback were talking about the MSG postgame, enough with the injury report. They're playing. You had Nick Nurse have something wrong with his finger, the coach, where he couldn't draw up a play with a marker in the second half, and just adding to the Philly narrative of we overcame all odds and all these things. No. This is an even series. When you look at the point differential between the two teams, it's +2. That's how even this is. And I think right now, coming into the series, I had the Knicks in 6. After games 1 and 2, I had Knicks in 6. I thought Philly would push back, and they did. I don't see how this series doesn't go 7. I don't think this Knicks team can get off the mat that quickly. This is a loss that stings. This is a loss that reverberates. This doesn't just go away. I know Tom Thibodeau has that quick mindset, doesn't dwell on wins or losses, and he's the right guy to get this team ready to go. But that Sixer crowd is going to be more livelier on Thursday night than it was in Game 4 when the Knicks seemed to own the building. That's not happening now. Now, I hope all you Knicks fans are listening, go out and buy a ticket and go to Philadelphia and support the team. But you can't expect that. You can't expect that right now Tyrese Maxey is going to play like a star. And the role players for Philadelphia play better at home than they do at the Garden. And if this series goes back to Game 7, as lively as that crowd would be, which would be Saturday night, this fan base is going to feel the anxiety of maybe blowing a 3-1 series lead. And for this core, if that were to happen, that would have effects on this team, I think, going forward. That makes you wonder, can this group really accomplish what they set out to do? That's a lot of pressure for this team. Philly right now, feeling pretty good. I think Embiid embraces being the villain in New York. He said how much he loves New York and things like that, and I think he thrives off the animosity toward him. But even though Tom Thibodeau did a good job winning one of his challenges early in the game, I think he got outcoached by Nick Nurse in this game. And I want to see what adjustments he makes. Does he even extend his rotation to Achua again? And does a second player actually deliver for Jalen Brunson? If they don't, this team is in trouble because they just don't have the rhythm right now in offense. Defensively, I think they're fine. Defensively, I think the only adjustment they have to make is just you gotta face guard Maxey a lot more than what they're doing. The second he gives up the ball, you can't allow him to get it back. And what does Philly do well? They run screens at the top of the key, and they make it so that Maxey either has a dribble drive or can get an open look at a shot. Why aren't the Knicks doing that for Jalen Brunson? Multiple screens. And the one thing I want to blame the Knicks for as well, when the Knicks' jump shots aren't falling, they keep taking them. There were times, especially in the middle of fourth quarter, take it to the basket. Get the layup. Draw the foul. Go to the free throw line. When you're not making shots, the best thing you can do is drive the ball, go to the line, hit a free throw, watch the ball go in, and it instantly changes your shot. They weren't doing that. And they were normally, early in the series, much more aggressive at taking the ball to the hole. When you've got a guy in Embiid with one leg, essentially, playing defense in the paint, I know he's a pretty good defender. You've got to go at him. You can't keep this whole dribbling in the lane. The more dribbles and passes this team does, the more turnovers are going to happen. They were a turnover machine, especially in the third quarter. The third quarter is where they lost Game 3, and I would argue the third quarter is where they lost Game 5. Knicks had a 32-17 second quarter, and then Philly outscored them 26-21 in the third. Turned what would have been a 6-point lead. Knicks were only up 1 going to the fourth. And throughout, you could never put them away. And the more life you give Philly, the more they're going to take advantage of it. Plain and simple. So Game 6, Thursday night, we will do a little bit more of a preview of that on New York State of Sports, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's our live show on Thursday, in addition to all the other New York topics we're going to cover. That game is going to be 9 o'clock because the Bucks right now are up 21 with a minute to go. There'll be 2 Game 6s on Thursday. The other Game 5, if you missed it, the Cavaliers, which makes Jen B happy, survived against Corey Pujols' Orlando Magic. Game 6 will be Friday for that series, which that's weird. It's 2 days in between, but hey, it is what it is. Game 6 Friday in Orlando for that one. So we'll take another break. We will come back, and we'll talk about the Islanders, whose season ends in 5 games, and why one problem they had in the regular season plagued them in a big way in the playoffs. You're listening to New York State of Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all of the sports. We will be right back after this.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Welcome back here to New York State of Sports on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all those sports. IE Sports Radio for the last almost 10 years has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows, such as this one. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio a direct feed for all that is sports. So the Knicks lose Game 5, and so do the Islanders, and the Islanders are heading home as the Hurricanes win their first-round series in 5 games, a final score of 6-3. And I mentioned going into the commercial break, there was one problem this year that for the Islanders that doomed them this game and in this series. And that was the third period. Carolina in this series scored 10 goals in 5 games in the third period. For the series, Carolina scored a total of 19 goals. 10 of the 19 in one period. And the Islanders during the regular season were one of the worst third period teams in the league. What I said going into this series was the Hurricanes had enough talent, enough skill, enough speed to expose the Islanders' warts. And you saw that immediately going in. Hurricanes get 2 goals in the first period. Teravainen gets the first goal a minute 23 into the game. So similar to what the Rangers getting the early goal in Game 4 in their clinching game, Carolina got theirs. Andrei Svechnikov scores almost 2 minutes later on a power play. Puts them up 2-0. Now the Islanders kept fighting back. And you give them credit for that. Mike Riley gets his first goal of the postseason on a power play. They get within a goal, but then Carolina gets the penalty shot because Romanov covers the puck in the crease. Evgeny Kuznetsov gets his second of the playoffs he's experienced in the postseason. They take a 3-1 lead. Islanders, though, find a way to get a strong period in the second, and they needed it. They got outshot 21-4 in the first period. So give Semyon Varlamov a lot of credit for that game even staying 3-1. That could have been 5-6 goals easily. Islanders find a way to get back in it. Brock Nelson gets his second goal of the series right in the early stages. And then Casey Cizikas scores with under a minute left to tie the game at 3. And it's just like game 1. Islanders are tied. They got the momentum going. They outshoot Carolina 11-9 in the second period. Things are going great. Not so fast. Jack Drury with a wrist shot to start the third. 8 seconds later, Stefan Noesen, his third goal in 5 games. So in 8-second span, the Islanders go from a 3-3 tie to down 5-3. They get a power play early in the third period on a Svechnikov slash. They can't take advantage. And then Seth Jarvis with the empty netter, his third of the series, causes the Islanders to lose. Now after the game, Patrick Waugh said that essentially, this is from Stefan Rosner, I feel like we deserve a little bit better, and I'm not saying we should have won that series. I'm saying that we could go home right now and play Game 6 empty, Game 6 easily, and instead it's over. It feels empty. I don't know where Patrick Waugh is getting that, first off. You talk about a team that I could see partially, again, tied in Game 1, going to the third period, they couldn't take advantage. Up 3-0 in Game 2, and they completely folded. In a game that Carolina, on the stats, looked better than the 3-goal deficit they were down. And then tonight, or Tuesday night, if you're listening Wednesday morning, tie going to the third, and not getting the job done. And that's where I'm confused, because if Patrick was saying that, then he's essentially ripping himself for putting in Sorokin in Game 3. If they were that close in the series, why'd you change goaltenders? Like, that's the disconnect there. Because the only win the Islanders got was the double overtime win in Game 4, which I thought could have sparked the momentum a little bit, that Matt Barzal found a way to kind of get on the scoring sheet and find himself going. Now, you look at this Islanders team as a whole, I would say overall they saved their season when they made the coaching change to Patrick Waugh. They didn't make a deal at the trade deadline, but the deal was essentially to get a new coach. And a team that has talent found a way to get to the postseason. You get comments from Kyle Palmieri. It was a bumpy ride this year, but realistically, I'm really proud of everyone in here. We battled our butts off and made our way into the playoffs and had a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. And then you had Pajot saying, I'm proud of every single player in here. Everybody thought we weren't going to make the playoffs. We proved everyone wrong. Everyone that they were going to sweep us. I thought we gave it a good shot. Didn't get the bounces. Look, this Islander team has a lot to be proud of. For at least not only getting to the playoffs, but finishing third in a really competitive Metro division. But they still have hills to climb. And the Metro isn't going to get easier. Columbus is going to get better. Buffalo's going to get better. Philly had a strong year. You run the risk at that point of now you're in a little bit of trouble here. Now, the Islanders do have some unrestricted free agents going into the summer. Cal Clutterbuck's a free agent. Matt Martin, who did not play in Game 5. You saw Simon Holmstrom get in, who's a restricted free agent this summer, along with Ruslan Ishkakov and Oliver Wahlstrom. And this is an Islander team that has a bunch of veterans. Like, Martin's been here a while. Clutterbuck's been here a while. Riley had an interesting game. We'll see if he gets a chance to capitalize off that. Guy they got off waivers early in the year on defense. You had a guy like Robert Bortuzzo. See if the Islanders decide to bring him back. But this is a team with a lot of veteran experience on it. Can they get the youth that's on this roster? Like, what is Ishkakov's role next year? A guy who can be creative offensively. And what can Patrick Waugh do in a full season? They need offensive talent. It's clear. They have to find a way when they get leads to deliver. And there's a lot of talent out there in the free agent market where they can capitalize if Lou Lamoriello is going to put the money in. And he is going to, I think he would put the money in if the team is worth the investment. Devils fans know that well. that he would do that. But the key is going to be, what is the future of this team? And the answer is, I'm not like, it's tough to tell right now what their expectation is for the 24-25 season. They'll obviously get ready for the draft. Devils, I know, have the draft lottery, I believe, is a week from Tuesday. So the Devils will be vested in that. Which leads now to Hurricanes Rangers second round. We do not know when that series will start, and we're not going to know a while, I think, until we know when that series will start. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one being, not all the NHL first rounds are done. Some of them are. The only one still alive in the East is Toronto and Boston. Toronto won earlier Tuesday night in overtime in Boston to force a Game 6 back in Canada, which was a big win for the Maple Leafs, considering they didn't have Austin Matthews. We'll see if he's available for Game 6 Thursday, so at least until all the East matchups are set, you're not going to know. In fact, if Dallas hadn't beaten Vegas on Monday, you would have had no series tied 2-2 in the first round for the first time. I think it was like almost 40 years. I was watching the game, and that stat was surprising considering how competitive usually the Stanley Cup playoffs is. Yet there was only one sweep. There's a lot of 3-1 series that were out there. So that's one. Number two, you don't know what the Knicks' schedule is. If the Knicks lose Thursday, that Rangers series cannot start until Sunday. Because remember, Game 1 of Hurricanes-Rangers is at Madison Square Garden. Rangers have home ice for the rest of for the postseason while they have the President's Trophy. So that's going to determine how long this rest period is for the Rangers between last Sunday's Game 4 win and when they play Game 1. And you look at this Rangers-Hurricanes matchup, obviously everyone's going to remember 2 years ago. The Rangers winning in 7 games, winning Game 7 in Carolina, finding a way, especially after they're down 2-0, to bounce back in that series and do what they did. But you look at the matchup this year. Rangers had 3 meetings with the Hurricanes. They won 2 of them. Carolina had 1 win. That was on January 2nd. Carolina won 6-1. So the other 2 matchups, Carolina scored 3 goals. So the Rangers at least found a way to keep the Hurricanes in check to an extent. Obviously, these teams hasn't been many. The teams are a little bit different. The Rangers were a team that tried to get Jake Guentzel at the deadline. Guentzel ends up going to Carolina. And that is going to be a tough matchup for this team because Guentzel gives them another scoring option that they can turn to. You look at having guys like Aho and Jarvis and Teravainen. Like, the Hurricanes have the depth and the speed to keep this series to be an interesting one. But I think what helps the Rangers is, again, when you can have different guys be heroes every night, that pays dividends. You have a Ranger team that is 3rd in the league in power play and penalty kill. Carolina, though, the best penalty kill in the league and a top 3 power play. So both these teams very good with the power play and the penalty kill. Rangers were excellent in the penalty kill, but they can't take as many penalties as they did against Washington and expect to survive. Look, the fact of the matter is this. I know this people like this point system and this divisional system because it leads to more matchups and gets us more entertaining matchups in the first couple rounds of the playoffs. This series should literally be for a right to the Stanley Cup. The fact that the top 2 teams are playing for a trip to the conference final is kind of the flaw with the system. Like, that's how even these teams are. The President's Trophy and the Metropolitan Division came down to the final week of the year. Even when the Rangers were one of the hotter teams in the league, they couldn't put away Carolina for that division title. Now, if we go through the matchups in particular, the Rangers against the Hurricanes this year, back on November 2nd, they won 2-1. Will Culley had the game-winning goal in the 3rd period in that one. Igor Shesterkin started. He had 26 saves. Chris Kreider a power play goal in the 1st, and Seth Jarvis a power play goal. So you had both teams getting the goals on special teams. Then we mentioned the January 2nd game. Carolina won at the Garden 6-1. 2 goals from Andrei Svechnikov, Jack Drury a goal. Obviously, Kochetkov was in net then. It's Frederick Anderson now. And the Rangers had some luck against Anderson in Game 7 a couple years ago. Remember, it was Anderson and Peter Mrazek, I believe, in that series. And then the other matchup, which is the most recent one, I think Gensel was playing in that point. It was back on March 12th at Carolina. Rangers won 1-0. Igor Shesterkin, 28 saves. Adam Fox, the lone goal in that one. That came 8 seconds left in the first period. So, again, you take some of these matchups aside, when you get outscored 7-4 and 6 goals came in one game, you kind of throw that as an outlier. And the fun wrinkle in this series, and Dan Rosen from NHL.com had this on Twitter, the coaching matchup between Peter Laviolette and Rod Brindamore. Rod Brindamore has been one of the better coaches in the league. Peter Laviolette was, obviously, everyone remembers him winning the Stanley Cup with the Hurricanes in 2006, the year before the lockout. Rod Brindamore was the captain. The last time a series had 2 opposing coaches that both won a Stanley Cup together was 1947. So there's history in this series. Now, who do I like to win it? I got to dive into it a little bit more. We talked about it a little bit with Adam Karnick from the Neutral Zone on the post-game shows a couple days ago. I would lean Rangers in 7 just because of the home ice. But there's a lot of intrigue in this matchup. And Carolina's a little bit banged up going in. Big injury in Game 5 was to Tony DeAngelo. Rob Brindamore said after the game there's a concern. DeAngelo didn't play in the last 5 minutes, took a slash when trying to go for a puck. So if he's out, and remember Brett Pesce is out right now with an injury. You remember the Rangers took advantage of the Capitals' lack of depth on defense. You now take a former Ranger DeAngelo out of the lineup if he's out. You're now having more wrinkles in that Carolina defense, which will allow for more goals on the offensive side. And the other question is going to be, does Phil Pito play in this series? And if he does, when he plays, does he start the series? Do they kind of ease him in a little bit? That's going to be something to monitor. And how those line pairings shape up. The easiest, and we can dive into those things on our next episode on Thursday. But I'm really looking forward to this series. I think this Ranger team knows the significance of it. He gave him a lot of kudos in the last show for finding a way to sweep and getting this extra time off that I think they could use, as any hockey team could use. Remember, they played 20 games in 40 days 2 years ago. For those who are arguing the rest versus rust, you take the rest and you go with it. So here's what we got coming up. We have our live show Thursday at 2 o'clock. We'll not only preview Game 6 of the Knicks and preview Rangers Hurricanes. We will talk Giants and Jets full draft roundup. All the rumors and news coming out of the draft. We'll dive into their full draft classes. I'm not wanting to do grades, but we'll analyze the players a little bit. Yankees having a rough series in Baltimore. They've lost 2 games. They just can't score runs. Shutout on Monday. Juan Soto homers on Tuesday, but they just can't get the big hit. After scoring 30 runs in Milwaukee over the last 2 games of that series, so the Orioles kind of taking them to task here. The Mets almost get a no-hitter from Luis Severino and lose, but they did win on Tuesday. Right now they have the best bullpen, I think, in baseball. Definitely has saved their April. They end up finishing over 500 in April after starting 0-5. You have to give Carlos Mendoza a lot of credit. So we'll dive in a lot more of those things on the next show. Right now, I don't have a post-game planned. Before I joined here on IE Sports Radio, I have a trip I am taking with my girlfriend who listens to this show, and hi, Teresa. So I don't know if a Game 6 postgame will be possible. If it does, I will tell you on Twitter, Abercrombie555 at NY State Sports IE, if that is the case. Game 7, if there is one, there won't be one. Most likely. So definitely you're going to have Thursday's live show. I'll try to figure something out for you guys. But that's why part of me was also a little bit, not, what's the right word? I was looking forward to hopefully an elation for the Knicks winning and looking forward to the second round and not having to work the post games as much. And I've enjoyed doing them for all of you out there. But right now the schedule, a little bit interesting. So the live show, again, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Hope you all tune in, join the Spreaker chat, all those fun things. And maybe you'll get something from me just in general. And we'll see where the Knicks are. Right now, I'm not confident in them. And because that's a loss that's going to sting and should sting this team. Because of what could have been. Game's right in front of them. And when you can't do the little things correct, if you're a parent out there coaching your basketball team or coaching a team in general, focus on the little things, free throws, making the smart basketball decision, because those are the things that win games. You can talk about slam dunks and 3-point and making all these threes and the game being as flashy as it is. You got to do the little things to win. This Knicks team was doing that all year. That got them to the 2 seed. In the East. And tonight, or Tuesday night when you're listening Wednesday, they were unable to do so. So the series shifts back to Philly. It will be hostile. It will be loud. But hopefully you Knicks fans make it to Philadelphia and check it out. And hopefully the Knicks are coming home, preparing for a second round series, and instead of coming home for a do-or-die Game 7, which would be Saturday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, at Madison Square Garden. This team's played too tough. This team played with too much grit and too much determination to have a potential 3-1 class. But that's been the nature of the series. It has been even. And either way, you can go one miracle here, one miracle there. The fact of the matter is, Knicks still lead 3-2. They're not in danger of being eliminated, but you can't argue Philadelphia's got all the momentum right now. Islanders' season has come to a close. Just not enough firepower in the end. We'll see if they add some offense into the mix this summer. But their season now, they're able to go out and play some golf. While the Hurricanes and Rangers get set for an epic second-round series. We don't know when it's going to start, but it's coming. So again, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk Knicks. We'll talk NFL draft. Is Daniel Jones' job in jeopardy even though the Giants didn't take a quarterback? We'll talk about it. And the Jets, I think, got an interesting receiver in the second round that could be a game changer for this team. And maybe they got their quarterback in the future late with the selection of Jordan Travis. We'll also talk Yankees and a rough series in Baltimore, and the Mets having some success against the Cubs, and Luis Severino starting to look like the guy Yankees fans love for years. But thanks for tuning in today. Ricky Keeler again. I want to tell you, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here Thursday for another episode of New York State of Sports. So long, everybody.